Party people, Tony Rowe here. Party puzzle number 2. And it's been a while since I've said the words Ulf Andersson, and that's just completely unacceptable on this channel. And so here we are. We're doing a positional party puzzle. It's white to move, and let her rip. Okay. Hopefully you've paused. You've thought about it. If you don't have it, first hint. Consider that, of course, white has some positional trumps here already. Black has one or two things that I think could be considered weaknesses, and of course that you have to, in general, build up and start attacking weaknesses to make progress towards winning material, creating more advantages. So think about it and get back to me. Okay, second hint. Some of the most perhaps obvious kind of positional improving moves have a problem with the fact that black has this resource knight d4 check, because of course with the king lined up on the c file, c takes d4 might lead to issues one way or the other. Okay, hint number 3. Think about this. b6 is a weakness. How might white start to tickle that weakness on b6? Okay, you guys have made it towards the end. You're looking for the solution. If you didn't already look at the study already, in this game is Ulf Andersson versus Tempone, Buenos Aires, 1979. So an oldie but a goodie. And in the game, white played king b3, exclam. And yeah, of course, hopefully you guys took a look at this position, realized that there were no immediate tactical shots, and started to go into some kind of positional evaluation. Jakob Ogard likes to ask where the pawn breaks are, what's your worst place piece, and what are your opponent's ideas. And my coach always said pieces, pawns, and prophylaxis, which is very similar. And so if we look at, what are the opponent's ideas? Of course, black would like to work towards contesting the c file, possibly freeing up this dark square bishop somehow with g5 or f6. Trading off a knight for a bishop to neutralize the two bishops. And there's also these very annoying resources with knight d4. For instance, rook d7 is an obvious move, except it runs into knight d4 check when the communication of these two rooks is interrupted and black immediately strikes back. That would be very unfortunate. Not to be recommended. Okay, and another sort of, at least to me, one of my first thoughts in this position would be the move bishop to e2, transferring the bishop to the arguably stronger long diagonal here. The problem with this move is, again, knight d4 check. When c takes d4 check, king b3, d takes e3, f takes e3, bishop to f8 would be very equal. If black manages to trade off the c6 knight for the dark squared bishop, then you're left with opposite colored bishops. Black is going to bolster this weakness on b6 with bishop c5 and also hit the pawn on e3. So that's kind of a non-starter. Bishop b5 is an acceptable move and is probably also good enough to win, but there still is this. This move is absolutely nothing. I don't know, let's just say here. Similar problem. That's equal. But white can just sidestep this, and if black takes here, key move is rook d8 first. And actually, there's this very nasty threat of f5, planning bishop h6 with unstoppable checkmate, or rook b8, and black can't stop both at the same time. But white does have to be precise here. If you were to just go a takes b5, then maybe rook f8 kind of defends. At least it's more annoying. Okay, so yeah, and if knight f5, then check, king f8, and again, you still kind of have to be precise here. Something like rook b8, which is the obvious follow-up to penetrating along the d file, allows knight e3, fe3, and then c4 when, again, yeah, black has this idea of going bishop c5, and that definitely complicates matters. Dark or opposite colored bishops complicate matters. So it's not so easy, actually, if you allow this knight d4 idea. And so Ulf kind of very nicely sidesteps all of the problems on the c file, and also sort of vaguely already hints at this long-term plan of putting the king on b5. And again, when you're talking like positional chess, like the pieces, pawns, prophylaxis, okay, black has these ideas of knight d4, he stops them, but also like the pawn structure here, you can quickly kind of realize, because black lacks a light square bishop, and also because of these pawns on the dark squares, that there are some light square problems, and also this backward weak pawn on b6 should maybe trigger some ideas to start attacking this, either with rook d6. Rook d6 is kind of hard because of bishop f8, or knight d4 check, that kind of stuff still. Or, yeah, possibly reaching the king up there. And the game continued pretty instructively, typical like Ulf style. So bishop f8, bishop b5, and what to say about this move? Of course, it's in a way, one of the advantages of the two bishops is that you can exchange off a bishop for a knight much easier than the opposite, because bishops are long-range pieces. And in this particular example, if white is allowed to play bishop c6, then it's going to be very hard long-term for black to hold because of white's other positional factors. It's a good minor piece exchange. It allows white's king to safely sit on b5, for instance. It also makes it very hard for black to contest the d file. It's theoretically possible that maybe black wants to get rook d8 in, and without a knight on c6, that's very hard. And yeah, it's also possible here to play bishop, my idea of bishop e2, also very good. And in this position, after bishop b5, again, there's this hint now, because the c4 square is clear, to go king c4. Black probably should have gone knight e7 to try and stop this, but they went rook c to c7. Ulf happily snatched, goes king c4, excuse me, planning king b5. And black is already probably woefully lost. You can see the evaluation bar on the side. Bishop e7, rook d7, rook c to c7, rook takes c7, rook takes c7, king b5. And yeah, you can see here, I should probably maybe make this more clear. Just my only point is that white continues to dominate the d file and has drastically improved his position since 7 moves ago when he played king b3, exclam. Now the weakness on b6 is very clearly highlighted. The difference in king activity is huge. Basically, white is playing a piece up, because this king is doing nothing, and the king on b5 is tremendous. And yeah, rook b7, of course, does nothing, because king c6 would hit the rook anyway, and after rook b8, maybe king c7, and b6 would hang, or rook d7. So black plays rook c8, hoping at least to get some kind of activity after this check, and takes here. I think after king takes a5, white would still be winning, but again, why allow this? Ulf goes rook d7, continuing to improve his position, king f8, king b6, and now if rook b8, there's rook b7. And yeah, the game continued a few more moves, but after this, black was almost in zugzwang. You pretty much can't move any pieces, and eventually king takes a5, or bishop b6, and then king takes, or bishop takes, or the c4 pawn hanging. It's all terrible, and I think black resigned a couple moves later. But yeah, key moment, king b3, and also, I don't know, when this example came to mind. My buddy and I were talking about Ulf Andersson today, and this example came to mind, and I was curious as to whether or not, because sometimes some of these positional games, they don't hold up as well to like the harsh scrutiny of an engine. But yeah, king b3, first choice by Stockfish, +5, easy. And bishop f8, Stockfish is fine with either of these moves, very similar evaluations, but yeah. I hope you guys found this one instructive. I will be back with more Blitz and Rapid games, more instructional content. If you dug it, like, subscribe, shoot me a comment. Let me know if you got it. Peace, guys.